Hi, so this is my video on Robert Dunbar and a response to his videos on how many friends we need. I thought both videos were very interesting. The first video is shorter and gets to a lot more key points quicker, so I'm going to touch on most of the things from that. Um, Although the second video does a lot of interesting studies about social behavior. So in the first video, he talks about Dunbar's number being 150. This is the average number of people that human beings can have meaningful relationships with and recall these meaningful relationships. Although this number has a lot of variation and people are often above or below it, but this is the average. And one of the things he mentions is that the amount of time you have to invest in a relationship is proportional to the quality of the relationship. I think this is true on a lot of counts. A lot of people spend a lot of time with their families, and they're closer with their families, and you know, it goes both ways. So if you are closer with your family, maybe you spend more time. But a lot of people spend a lot of time with their families growing up, and they're not very close to those people. So I think there's another thing missing from this, although I think pointing to the fact that, and the more time you spend with someone, the more you're going to like them if you choose to if you're choosing to spend that time with them, I think is the point. And I think that's true in a lot of ways. Another thing he mentions, which is very interesting, is that touch is very important to relationships. He says that physical contact can convey emotional meaning in ways that words cannot. And I think this is true, and for me, this brought up a recall of an ESPN article about, I think it was titled, Good Players Aren't Afraid to Touch Teammates. And they do a study on players that give high fives, fist bumps, hugs, pats, and the like, it says. And the touchier teammates are better teammates. And not only that, but the teams in general who touch more tend to do better in the league. And it was a very interesting article and goes back and forth. So you see touch being a positive influence in a lot of areas of life. One of the things that concerns Dunbar is that we don't have touch in the virtual relationships. It's missing from them. And he says in this way, the relationships will never be as strong as ones you have that start off in personal life and when you meet up in personal life. He says that social networks are great because they allow you to prevent relationships from decaying over time. But again, if you don't get out into the world and do these things together, your relationship will fade. And again, all kind of revolving around touch and being with that person. And that's true to a degree, I think. But it made me question, are there other ways in which we can convey emotional meaning in ways that words cannot? So touch is one, but, it made me think of the experiment where people write things on their hands and show it to the YouTube that was started. I thought that was a very interesting phenomenon, and we talked about how that meant a lot to people. It meant more than just getting on YouTube and talking and sending out a memo to the world. But when you were able to put less information on your hand and simply take it and show it to the camera, it was much more gripping. I think that's very interesting. I think there could be other ways that you convey emotional meaning that's stronger than just words across the internet. I think Dunbar misses this. I think he gets caught up in old school thinking a little bit too much here. And other than that, the main thing that was kind of interesting is that he talks about how we break down the social group into two types of people: the kins, which we didn't see enough of the video to really know what he defines as kin. It kind of seemed like family have to be kin, but I don't know if you could have friends that are good enough to be kin. But he says these relationships don't decay over time or distance the way that friendships do. And then the video kind of cuts off. So it would have been interesting to see the end of that. But, in summation, I think it is worth looking into other ways we can reach out to people through the internet besides just words. And I think that's going on much more than we realize.